So, Final Shape has been out for a couple weeks now, and I think it's fair to say there is one universal winner in terms of character use for Final Shape, and that is going to be Hunters by an absolute landslide. Sorry, Titans, you're dead last. I know. Look at how good Hunter is, nerf synthos, etc. Hunters, in terms of DPS, have just absolutely slaughtered everything in the game, and that's what we're going to be talking about today in terms of a build. In this case, the best DPS build or variety of a build in the entire game. Now, of course, there's always going to be small differences here and there for personal preference. Maybe a grenade change here, a melee change there. Maybe you like a certain fragment over another. Things like that. But the core idea of this DPS build will always stay the same. We're going to be talking about all the stuff that you see in the background footage with the absurd damage. So let's just get straight into it. First, the stars of the show. For our exotic armor piece, we're going with Celestial Nighthawk, of course, because it turns our golden gun into a nuclear weapon. Our main source of damage in terms of weaponry is going to be Still Hunt, as a surprise to absolutely nobody. Now, Still Hunt is great on its own, being a sniper that can turn into a golden gun sniper via its super bar by getting either precision hits or orbs of power to stack up its bar. But if you use this weapon while stacking Celestial Nighthawk as your exotic armor piece, it turns this sniper into a Nighthawk sniper, which basically turns it into a nuclear weapon, but on steroids, because it literally will do more damage than the actual Celestial Nighthawk. Despite firing a Nighthawk shot out of your sniper, it still counts as a weapon-based hit, so it still benefits from Well, Radiant, and Surges on your boots. And let's also not forget its second perk, Golden Munitions, which states the magazine gains bonus ammo whenever a golden gun shot is acquired. So the base gameplay loop is right there for you, right? Your Celestial Nighthawk is built up through your own super, and then your Still Hunt is built up through its own super bar via either orbs or precision hits. Or if you're just starting a boss damage phase outright, you just hit the rally flag and you already have a full bar on both. Then when you've entered a boss damage phase, you fire off your Nighthawk, you fire off your Still Hunt, and from there on, you just simply shoot Still Hunt and get precision hits or pick up extra orbs to get the super bar back to fire another Nighthawk. So that's the core gameplay loop, and on its own, it's already absurd in terms of damage, but we can make this even better. So how do we do that? The first thing we can do is incorporate Transcendence into the mix. Now, a lot of people don't actually know this, or at least the latter half of this, but in Transcendence, on top of getting ability regen increased and having additional DR, you also get increased weapon damage as well, 5% extra. It's not a ton, but it's still extra damage. So ideally, you want to build up your Prismatic meter before going into a boss damage phase. And how do we do that easily? Let's explain. It all starts with abilities. Now, my personal setup for these is going to be the following. I'm going to have Withering Blade in my melee slot for two reasons, but one of the reasons is because it's a darkness-based melee, so I can get dark energy from that, and the other one we'll explain in a little bit. The grenade in this slot is going to be Dustfield Grenade. The main reason is, once you know there's going to be a small group or even a big group of ads spawning out of a particular door or area, you can throw a Dustfield Grenade down on the ground and then freeze all of them, and they'll keep ticking and freezing in that radius until the dust field is gone, and it will build up a ton of darkness prismatic energy. I mean, like over half, if not 75%, just off of that one dust field alone. Now, you could put a grapple in this slot instead, just for movement tech purposes and some darkness energy, but dust field by far and away gives you the most energy out of those two. And to round off our main abilities, since we're already here, I also have Marksman's Dodge on for, you guessed it, reloading our sniper when we run out of ammo. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, going into aspects, there's one aspect that matters in terms of building our Prismatic, and that is going to be Ascension. The main reason is because you jolt targets, which gives a bunch of ability energy off of enemies, which will build your light meter faster than anything else. You could try Threaded Spectre for clones, but again, I think Ascension is much easier, and it's also light-based as opposed to just having everything be dark-based. In our fragments, we have two in here that help us build energy. The first of those is going to be Facet of Grace, which states defeating targets with kinetic weapons grants you bonus transcendent energy. And then the other fragment is going to be Facet of Devotion. Defeating targets afflicted with stasis or strand debuffs grant bonus light energy. Now that is it in terms of building energy. Now let's talk about, once we do have Transcendence, what do we do with it for boss damage phases? So we already mentioned that going into Prismatic, Transcendence gives us bonus weapon damage, but there's a second reason for this, and it ties in with our melee, our grenade, and a fragment called Facet of Command, which states suppressing or freezing a target reloads your equipped weapon, in this case, Still Hunt. So we haven't talked about the grenade yet, but when you go into Transcendence, you get the grenade called Hail Fire Spike, which essentially, in simple terms, is a grenade that freezes and ignites enemies. And the freezing part is important here because if you throw a grenade on a boss, then eventually you will get a freezing debuff on the boss, which will reload your weapon. Now, additionally, our shurikens that I mentioned earlier, Withering Blade, if you throw 2 shurikens at a boss target, that will also freeze them and again reload our weapon. So on top of having a reload dodge on, we also have the capability of using our grenade or our melee to also activate Facet of Command to get another instant reload off without actually having to manually reload our Still Hunt. Now, there's one more fragment that I haven't mentioned. Well, technically 2, but the 5th one is just Facet of Protection, which is just damage resist, in case you were curious. The last fragment we want to talk about is going to be Facet of Courage. This states, your arc, solar, or wood abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. And guess what? Everything that I just mentioned with stasis, from our grenade, our melee, our dust field, etc., it's a darkness debuff, which means once you affect a target with any of these, your Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun will now do more damage, as if it needed any more damage on top of that. Now, given all the information that I just mentioned, I'm going to go over the entire full loop now, assuming you're using all of these abilities to your advantage. I do want to mention one thing before I do that, though, and that is Well and Golden Gun together, since I know a lot of people still get this wrong, and maybe some people would be confused by the footage and be questioning my methods, but the main thing you need to know is that you can activate Golden Gun in Well, and it's actually a benefit to you, not a disadvantage. The disadvantage comes if you fire your Golden Gun in a Well, but activating it is actually a benefit, and here's why. If you activate Goldie in Well, and then leave Well of Radiance, you will get the Radiant buff. Radiant buffs your Golden Gun damage, as opposed to Well of Radiance lowering it. So, all you need to do is just pop your Goldie, walk out of Well, then you can just shoot your Goldie, and be fine to do maximum damage. Now, with all of that said, here is the full loop. You want to go ahead and activate Still Hunt. Then, while Still Hunt is activating, you can actually animation cancel it and then activate your Prismatic for Transcendence. Then, while that is activating, you can also cancel that and activate your Golden Gun in said Well to then do all 3 animations in quick succession and be much faster doing it than doing all these animations separately. Then, you walk out of the Well to get Radiant, and throw your Prismatic Grenade. Once the grenade is attached to the enemy, the Darkness debuff will activate, thus giving your Golden Gun that bonus damage. Now you can fire your Golden Gun and get the maximum damage that it can get on the enemy, and right after that, you go back into the Well of Radiance and fire off your Still Hunt with its Nighthawk shot. Thanks to it being a weapon, it's not affected the same way as actual Nighthawk is. You can just go crazy with Still Hunt on the boss from there. Now, as you're firing off your Still Hunt shots, you will notice that if the Hailfire is still on the boss, you will actually start getting ammo refunded into your Still Hunt, and eventually you will hit the maximum for another Super Still Hunt shot, which you can then activate and shoot again on the boss for an additional Nighthawk shot. If your grenade is out and it's not charged back just quite yet, you can then utilize your shurikens and throw those on the boss, 2 of them to be exact, to then freeze the boss again to get a reload animation if you didn't already get one from the grenade. Now keep in mind, you can't get 2 of these reloads back to back because Bungie recently nerfed Facet of Command, where you can get 1 reload off and then there's a small cooldown, so don't worry about getting it back to back. This is where our dodge comes into play. After you've utilized your Facet of Command reload, you can then utilize your dodge reload if you need it to get Still Hunt reloaded yet again. And then once more, build up that super bar on Still Hunt, and then activate the super ability, fire off another Still Hunt Nighthawk shot, and then by this point, the boss is either dead or has like a sliver of health remaining. And if by some miracle the boss is still up, simply just reload your Still Hunt, God forbid, manually for the first time in the boss damage phase, and then finish the boss off or proceed to a second phase if you need to. So that's how you stuff every boss into a locker. Now let's talk about mods for your build, things that you can use to make your build a little more consistent. Let's go with Helmet first. In here, we have a couple of mods. The first one is Radiant Light, pretty straightforward. You pop your Goldie, and with Radiant Light, you also pass off armor charges to your teammates to activate their Weapon Surge boots, and they just do more damage. Now, the other 2 mods in this helmet slot are going to be Siphon mods. Pretty straightforward. The reason for this is to build your Golden Gun as fast as possible, or if you're doing a 2-phase fight, for example, like The Witness, you can have Siphon mods ready to build your second Nighthawk for the second boss damage phase. For your gloves, I have 2 main mods to recommend here. The first one being Heavy-Handed. In the event that you're running the Whirlwind Blades, you can get an easy 2-for-1 while throwing those shurikens, getting an orb of power from your melee, but also building up darkness energy for your transcendence. And the other mod is going to be Solar Loader in the event that you do have to manually reload Still Hunt. This will make things a little bit faster. Chest is always reserves or resists, so we're going to skip that. Your boots, of course, is going to be triple Solar Weapon Surge to buff Still Hunt into the stratosphere. And then finally, we have our class item. The first mod in my class item is Special Finisher, and let me explain why. So, let's again take the Witness boss fight and say you do not one-phase. In this situation, what I would do is have this mod on, Special Finisher, then I would switch my boots to Scav boots with stacks on stacks, and then a chest piece with charged up. Then I would pick up Orbs of Power, make sure I have 3 armor charges on, and then I would Special Finisher an enemy to get green ammo, as well as making green ammo for my teammates, so we can all get back our Still Hunt ammo for that second boss damage phase. And with this setup, I would have 1 armor charge remaining after a Special Finisher, then I would have to only pick up 1 Orb of Power to get back to 3, and then make another Special Finisher brick for my teammates, so we're just getting ammo back very quickly. And then in the last 2 slots, we have Powerful Attraction to automatically pick up Orbs of Power when you dodge. This is also really helpful during boss damage phases when people make orbs off of their Nighthawk, or off of Well of Radiance, or whatever other super that can make orbs instantly. So really helpful there to charge your Still Hunt even faster. And then the last slot is of course going to be Time Dilation, so our armor charges don't decay too fast. But that is it. That is the monster DPS build with Prismatic Hunter, and I think this is going to reign over the entire game in uncontested fashion until something gets hard nerfed into the ground. Will that happen? Who knows? I don't think Bungie plans to nerf Still Hunt this early on, but you never know. You know, they seem to be listening a lot more these days. So, if you enjoyed the build or the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. If you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and or comment below as well. If you don't know what to comment, you can leave DPS as the comment. Or maybe Still Hunt instead, since it's taking over everything anyway. Also, I'll have the dim link for this build in the description below, which you can also find all my socials down there as well, in case if you care about that. And that's it. So, hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.